pepper, which is sweet, be part of our dish tonight. Most of the time, we have a very fun, upbeat show. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have some jokes. We'll tell some stories. Uh, but today, we're going to be celebrating the, um, the Jewish New Year in a unique way. We're going to be celebrating it with the co-founder of Hallah and Soul. And we'll tell you more about that as Mark Alyn Cooks Your Dinner takes to the air. Stay tuned. And by the way, if you're watching, we would love your comments. Here we go. Hi, I'm Mark Alyn, and we are live here on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you're watching, we encourage you to say hi to us. Let us know where you live, and we would love to say hi back to you. We are going to have a show today that celebrates life, period. End of story. That's what we're going to do. The Jewish New Year is just days away. And the last couple of years we've done some Jewish themed programs. We've done some Christmas programs as well, all regarding food, because food is the universal language. Anthony Bourdain said that. That's absolutely true. French scientists said that it doesn't matter about calories. It doesn't matter about the nutrients. It matters about the talking, the chatter, the conversation. And that's what is so important. We're going to salute today Hallah and Soul. Let's bring in the co-founder of Hallah and Soul. Her name is Judi Leib, and we are neighbors. I mean, we live very close together, and we've just discovered each other. And Judi, welcome to Mark Alyn
Thank you.
Cooks.
It's so great to be here. Thank you so much.
We're going to have a great deal of fun today. I started to chop some red bell pepper, and I'll continue to do that while I ask some questions. What is Hallah and Soul, first of all?
So not too long ago, a group of women were brought together through Hadassah to plan a luncheon for African American women and Jewish women to just kind of get together and talk about the state of our communities. It didn't take very long when you get a bunch of women in a room to realize that there was a nonprofit here just begging to be founded. So Hallah and Soul is basically, we are trying to reunify the African American Black communities with the Jewish community. We've always had a strong allyship in the past, and for lots of different reasons that we won't get into because some of them are political, we were intentionally divided. With the rise of anti-Semitism and racism, it's time for us to come back together and fight these things together.
Absolutely, 100%. Mr. West, can't tell what his name is now, is just over the top with his anti-Semitic remarks. There's somebody based here in LA who's a West lookalike, and he does that for a living, and he actually has a T-shirt that he marched down Fashion Week on an aisle on a runway last week that said Jewish lives matter. And what I think is Black lives matter, brown lives matter, yellow lives matter, purple lives matter, all lives matter. And,
right.
And I think that's what we're celebrating. And as I said at the beginning of the show, food is a universal language. It just is. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we were sort of itemizing the things that Blacks and Jews have in common, I mean, and there's some really obvious ones like Jews were slaves, Blacks were slaves, Jews are discriminated against, Blacks are discriminated against. The thing that came up that really kind of stood out to us was how much some of our foods come from the same place, have the same origin story. So we certainly have a lot more in common than we have differences. And as we've explored this, we have found, some obvious ones, and one today that we're going to talk about that's not so obvious. But like, you think of matzo ball soup and you think of chicken and dumplings. Essentially, they're the same thing. One's made with flour, one's made with matzo meal.
Well, and matzah meal, which is flour. It's just a kind of a form of flour. Well, as we always do at the beginning of our show, we do a toast. So I'm going to pour a Baron Herzog wine. This is an old vine Zinfandel. It's less than $12 a bottle. I really am into Zin. I love Zin. Not sin, Zin. Just making that clear. Um, and I want to toast to Jay Bucksbaum, who's been on the show. He was here for Passover, and also Gabe Geller. Okay, both from Royal Wines, that are the owners of Baron Herzog and a variety of kosher wines. And then I think you've been to the Herzog cellars in Oxnard.
Yes.
Judi, right?
Yes.
They have Terra del Sol is a wonderful restaurant. It's kosher, and a friend of mine actually is the cellar master there during the day. Anyway, I thought it would be a real great thing to toast to you, Judi, and
Thank you.
your co-founder, and her name is Chandra.
Shonda.
Shonda.
Shonda, like it's a Shonda, she always says. It's a Shonda. So
It's
her
a
name is
Shonda.
also very in keeping. So to Shonda, to you, Mark, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, l'chaim, everybody.
L'chaim.
Mm. This opened up. It's really nice. And there is, at the end, a little touch of sweet. Thank you, Baron Herzog. They've been such a good supporter of us. I wanted to just give them a shout out. All right,
And
we're
can
going
I
to make.
just add one thing to that? Because,
Yeah.
Kosher wine gets a really bad rap. And Baron Herzog in particular, because I serve that in my home on the holidays, they have some really exceptional wines. It's not all Concord grapes. So shout out to them for doing this right.
Absolutely. A number of years ago, I was on a wine tour of another company, and we had a vertical wine tasting where they had 20 glasses in front of every participant, and I was asked to speak. And when I had to speak about the wine that had turned to green pepper, and we were going to talk about green pepper, my story. It was terrible. Anyway, I thought they were going to kick me out or something, and that was in the hills of Galilee, I believe. Anyway, we're going to start. We're going to make something called Hoppin John.
Hoppin John, yeah.
Hoppin John. Tell us that story about what it is, and then we'll start making it.
So Hoppin John is served in the South traditionally on New Year's Day, January 1. It is black-eyed peas, which we're going to show some black-eyed peas, I think,
Yes.
that have a similar look to them as a coin, right? So that was supposed to serve as prosperity, and traditionally it's served over collard greens, which symbolize dollar bills. So it's supposed to bring wealth and prosperity to you in the new year.
I have to tell you that I've never cooked or eat. I don't remember eating, even when I lived in the South in Memphis. I don't remember eating black-eyed peas, but the pea has a little black eye. It's like somebody slugged it. So
exactly,
anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
So when Hallah and Soul came together and we started doing research, trying to figure out other recipes that we have in common, I was surprised, pleasantly so, to find that black-eyed peas are actually mentioned in the Talmud for the same reason. They are representative of prosperity and health in the new year. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, we have to make this recipe kosher, or at least kosher style,
right,
because we're obviously not going to make it with a ham hock.
Right. And I should point out, in the 60s, there was a comedy album called You Don't Have to Be Jewish. And you don't have to be Jewish to enjoy this food or the wine. Okay?
Absolutely.
I want you to know that. Jan says, hello, Mark, Judi, and Carol. Thank you very much. And I think there may be another comment there too. Oh, Servet. Shana Tava from Brian and I. I think that's Brian and me. And here's to new beginnings. Isn't that Brian and me? I'm not. If you're a grammarian, let us know if Servet was correct or not. And she's a writer. Okay, we're going to go back here. I'm going to take. I'm going to take the uh, red bell pepper that I've cooked or chopped. I haven't cooked it yet. I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to turn on our stove, and we're going to use. How did you describe the oil?
As a neutral oil. So you're using avocado oil today. When I talk about a neutral oil, I'm talking about something that doesn't have a flavor per se, like olive oil. We love the flavor of olive oil. A walnut oil, you can really get that nut feel. So you want a vegetable oil, a neutral oil. So avocado oil is a great one. It's one I've always got in my kitchen.
And I've talked to many nutritionists about canola, and canola oil is.
Iffy.
I have one guy, Dr. Saleha, calls it a garbage oil because there's not a lot of nutrients to it, where avocado oil does, and it also has
Absolutely.
a high temperature, so you can it won't
Yes.
burn. All right, I've got
Yes.
that on
Exactly.
high. We're going to put in, and I'm reading from Judi's recipe. And by the way, you could go to if you Judi's website. Is it on your website or is it on which website is it on?
It actually will be on my website by the time this show gets over. So
Oh,
my
okay,
website
good.
is whiskinthesouthern.com.
So whisk in the summer, and we're not even whisking anything today. Not a
Right.
thing. I mean, no whiskey, no whisk. Okay, we're heating the oil right now. It should be just about ready, and I'm gonna throw in uh, to start garlic. And I told uh, Judi just as we started the show, when I cook, I don't measure. I eyeball everything. So you're gonna tell me when to throw in the onions, Judi, because you can see that.
Right. Right. And you don't want to let your garlic go too long alone in the pot because it'll burn pretty quickly. So I would go ahead and get my onions in there.
All right, we're going to put the onions in. This is about little, it was a very large onion. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Judi, or not. Even though the onions are marked sweet, they lie, they're not. Now,
Right.
I've been enjoying Vidalia onions, which are sweet. You can almost
Yeah.
eat them like an apple. And
Absolutely.
um, uh, but these are labeled sweet, but they're not.
Right.
I may have to go back and try some yellow onions again.
Yeah. Yellow onions are great. And you can soak them in some cold water and that'll take some of the tang out of your onions if that's something that you're looking to avoid.
Sure. And the other thing you can do is put it in the refrigerator or even the freezer for, say, 10 minutes. And that also mitigates the chemical reaction of the air and the chemicals in the onion.
Absolutely.
I'm more than a pretty
Absolutely.
face, Judi.
Very good.
Trina, that joke was for you because you said
Ah,
I didn't joke enough. So I just wanted you to know that. Okay. Now, the recipe calls for a special seasoning, a special spice, um,
yes.
which is the Old Bay or a
Right.
Creole. Now, I have, because we've done a lot of Creole cooking over the last year, I have about 4 different kinds of Creole, and I don't have a Old Bay. So I'm going to use
Okay.
the Creole.
Okay. Perfect. And it's interesting while you're adding that, let me share some of the history. Old Bay seasoning is really associated with sort of mid-Atlantic crab cakes, but it really is a seasoning blend that came from New Orleans and Creole cooking. Which one are you using?
Right. Um, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm using, oh, I'm using Tony Chachere's,
Very nice.
which
Very,
is one of my favorite. I mean,
very
it
good.
just smells so good, and it's zesty but not spicy.
Right.
Um, so oh, I got to put in
The red bell pepper. I was just
the
going to ask
red bell
you.
pepper. Now, in cooking Creole, and you probably know this, I should mention that amongst other things, Judi is a chef. She went to culinary school. We grew up miles from each other. In
Yes.
fact, you grew up closer to Carol than you did to me.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Very
Yeah,
good.
she went to Grant. You went to
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Okay. Um, do you think I need any more oil in there?
I'm looking at it and I don't know if you need any more oil, but if you want to just spoon off a little bit of the chicken broth from your black eyed peas and get that in there,
Yes.
that might help as
Okay.
well. And it's always a good idea. This is one of the things I do is, I keep my pasta water by the side of the stove when I'm making sauces for pasta. I keep some chicken broth by my side just because I think it's better to add chicken broth if you can, or a broth, a liquid versus an oil when you need it.
Right. It's already looking very pretty. Um, you have a package of black-eyed peas, and
Yes, I
right?
do. When we were talking, you had said that it was not so easy to find them. So I wanted to just show you, these are actually Safeway's brand. Can you see these? This comes in
Yes.
a dry package. There we go. There we go.
Got it.
Black eyed peas, these are dry. If you're in like your Sprouts or a Whole Foods, you can get them in their bin section and just buy what you need. This is a pound package, so maybe you don't need a pound. So some of the stores have the bulk bins and you can buy them there. And then you just soak them overnight.
Got it. And soak them in chicken stock.
Yes, because you're building flavors. You're always building your flavors. So water is great, but why not use chicken stock or vegetable stock if you're a vegetarian,
Got it.
just to
Uh,
keep adding that flavor.
and we've got to add, I've got to chop some duck breast in a minute. Jordan L says yum. And where are you from, Jordan? Let us know where you are where you live. Okay, it can be
And
the
Mark, I had a
valley.
question for you because I
Yeah,
know the answer to this, but I wonder if everybody else does. My recipe calls for green or red bell pepper.
yeah, we got to talk about that, don't we? There's not many things that I don't like or won't try. I find green bell pepper offensive. It is so strong and overpowering. Okay,
Right.
Carol's
And the
laughing
red.
at me. And so when we were cooking the Creole, and I said to the guest chef, I said, I'm going to substitute red for the green, and he blanched. He said, green pepper is stock and trade of Creole cooking, not red.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, you're getting into Holy Trinity land there. So,
It was
yeah.
absolutely correct. All right, let's take a look at what we're doing. Oh, you're in New York. Hey, good. What part of New York? Because I'm nosy. That's what it says on LinkedIn. I'm the nosiest person in the world. And I am. I ask all kinds of questions. All
Oh,
right.
that's looking great.
Oh, it smells good too.
Looks
I'm going to
really
just give it
good.
a stir. Now, because it's just Carol and me, I don't have a lot. I'm not making a lot of this. All right. We're going to cut a smoked duck breast. Now, I found the smoked duck breast because I didn't want to buy a whole brisket. And I thought that, oh, Manhattan. Oh, good. I'll be there in November, and now I have a couch to sleep on. That's great. Thank you, Jordan. Um, that's another joke for you, Trina. Um, the I got this frozen duck breast at Wild Fork. Have you tried that yet?
I haven't. Where is that?
You've got one coming someplace in the valley. It's out in Westlake Village, and what they serve or what they sell are frozen everything.
Okay.
No, I'm serious, Jordan. I'm not kidding. Um, and you get to make dinner. Anyway,
She's gonna make
um,
Hoppin John.
I'm sorry.
She'll make Hoppin John.
Oh yeah. Oh great. That'll be super. So I'm going to cut this. How big should I make these pieces?
I like them to be just bite sized. So like, maybe the size of like a an almond or a walnut, just something that is you're not like having to like stuff into your mouth. You want it to be a good bite size.
Got it.
And you're using a smoked duck breast, but the recipe actually originally calls for a ham hock to get that smoky taste, and then you shred off your ham there.
Right.
And I did it with brisket. You can get a smoked brisket, you can smoke a brisket. At some of these barbecue places these days, you can even go in and buy just a couple of burnt ends and chop those up, and that'll work too. And even
Karen
chicken.
Lieb. Karen Lieb says hello.
Oh,
I
okay.
I can't imagine that she's not a relative.
She
Um,
is.
I think she's my cousin. What are you talking about? Okay. Um, and Ray Hinton. Oh, you're in San Francisco. Hey, we were talking about you, Ray. We miss you. I'm glad you're working, but we miss you. I think Carol misses you more than I do. Ray has been gracious enough to come and do our camera work and lighting for us. How's our lighting today, Ray? So I'm cutting this up. Denise Anderson from Chatsworth.
Hi.
Now I'm there is the duck breast has some fat, and some of it is
Yes.
falling away. I'm not going to put it all in. I love duck. It's
I was
I
just going to say, with the duck fat, because I didn't think about that before we made this. You could have rendered that fat and used
yes.
that instead of a neutral oil since you're using the duck breast. That would have been fantastic.
Oh, what a good. Okay, we're starting over, everybody.
Reset.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right, I'll put this there. And Michelle Katz Block. Hello from Topanga. I went to high school on Topanga. Uh, book? Oh, book. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to take this. Now I'm going to add it here. I'm going to stir that up.
It's delicious.
Oh, Michelle, I want us to invent something together. Smell-o-vision. We have to be able to
Smell-o-vision.
smell-o-vision.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
she's like, Michelle likes it. And Jan is saying something too. I can't see what, oh, Jan. Yes, I
Oh, did
defrosted
you?
the
Yeah.
duck breast. It was frozen. They have shrimp, and they're, almost all shrimp is not, even if it's wild caught, is frozen on the boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so buying fresh frozen shrimp is not bad, and the prices were pretty reasonable. I've been getting shrimp at Gelson's, which has been rated #1 market in the country, or Whole Foods. They both have a wide selection. Some of the shrimp are very expensive, and no, I don't buy
I,
those.
I actually read an article today, I think on Serious Eats, that frozen shrimp might actually be a better shrimp than fresh shrimp because there's a lot more control to it because it is frozen right there on the boat. So there's
Got
no
it.
lag time.
If when I worked at McDonald's in high school, I cut potatoes and we blanched them,
Right.
we cooked them correctly, and then they brought in the frozen, and they were the first frozen product that was individually frozen rather than in a block of ice.
Right.
Right? It was, and which is
Yeah.
why their potatoes are so good today.
So good.
All right, I've got rice next, or What do you think?
Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, we can kind of let that just simmer down a little bit. You do want to add your peas in at this point.
The which?
Your peas, your black-eyed
Ooh, I
peas.
forgot about the peas. How could I do that? Should I
And
include
because,
the? I'm going to
because
include the chicken stock too. It's still
yes,
there.
definitely include that chicken stock. And I do think you're getting a little of the rendering on that duck fat. That looks amazing right there.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
wish we had thought of that. That's your fault, Michelle.
um,
I'm only teasing.
yeah, and because of the duck breast, at the end you're going to add a little salt and pepper to see where everything is. I'm going to say that you're
Yes.
probably going to go easier on the salt because the
Yes.
duck breast is a little
Can
bit
you get me the
naturally
pepper,
salty.
Carol? And while we're waiting for that, thank you,
Just
Michelle.
checking
I
everything.
appreciate that. All right, I have about a cup and a half of rice. I'm not going to use it all. There are a couple of reasons for that. Um, and the reason is I'm not a big rice eater.
Okay.
And there's the pepper. Okay. Now, we're going to let this simmer a little bit.
Right.
And while we do that, we're going to talk about the fact that Whisk in the Southern is about your family. And actually, to a certain extent, Hallah and Soul is about your family too. You told me about your grandfather, for example.
Right.
We're going to let that simmer. Um, when we were introduced, I thought, oh man, I'm going to hear this great Southern accent, y'all, and I'm going to hear all these y'alls, and not a one, because you grew up in the valley.
Right. I'm a Valley girl. I grew up in
Yeah.
Encino. You know, I didn't realize how heavily influenced by a Southern upbringing or heavily Southern influenced upbringing I had until back in the mid 90s. A book called The Yaya Sisterhood came out, and I
Right.
read that book and I was like, wait, that's my family's expression. We say that. That's our story. That's us. And went and talked to my mom about it. And she goes, well, yeah, I was raised in the South, so I raised you as I was raised. Then when I had my own children, I really started to realize that I was so heavily influenced. I was making grits for my kids for breakfast. We had some slang words for some things
Hold it, hold it,
that,
hold it right there. Hold it right there.
did I
Well,
say grits?
just a second. You said grits. Now
Yes.
I've had all kinds of grits.
Okay.
I've had them. I've shrimp and grits and shrimp and grits and cheese and grits. I don't
Mm-hmm.
get grits. Is that because I'm from Southern California?
Yeah, probably. I mean, did you eat cream of wheat growing up?
I loved cream of wheat.
Same thing. One is wheat, one comes from corn.
Got it.
Basically, I think. I mean, I'm sure that if anybody in my family in the South is watching this, I'm sure I'll get a phone call afterwards saying it is not the same thing, but it's the same origin story, so to speak. So,
And by the way, Denise Anderson grew up in Encino as well.
oh, great. Hey,
Yes.
neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Oh, and Michelle loves cream of
It's-
wheat.
That's which is great. I do. We haven't had cream of wheat in a long time. You don't like cream of wheat. You do? Oh, okay. Next time, instead of
But
oatmeal,
tell me why you don't like grits. What you don't
I
get
don't
about grits?
know. There's just something about it. Maybe I didn't have it right. I'll be over at 6 o'clock, and you can make me some
Absolutely.
grits.
Absolutely, because grits are amazing when done right. They shouldn't be lumpy, they shouldn't be dry, they should be
Right.
perfect.
All right. I'm going to just take a real quick stir. Oh, Jan, yes, it does look good. Let's take a look because of that. You know, this almost looks, Michelle, Judy, like a gumbo,
Yes,
doesn't it?
absolutely. It does look a little bit like a gumbo. Now, I will say that because you chose to use red peppers, which is just fine, maybe not tonight for the two of you, but if you were making this dish for guests or whatever, Maybe put some Italian parsley, chop up some parsley, or yeah, I think parsley or even some fresh thyme to just
Ooh,
give it some color, give it some life, and the thyme will
what
definitely
about
add a
basil?
little.
I have fresh basil outside. I could do that.
I don't know if basil will work with that
No,
flavor
too strong.
profile. I think you
Got
might have some competing things, but thyme or parsley, maybe a little rosemary, just because it's
Oh,
got
I've
that,
got rosemary too.
maybe a little bit of rosemary.
Karen, by the way, also agrees. Cream of do you like cream of wheat better or grits better, Karen? Let
Oh,
us know.
I think
Okay.
she's had my grits.
Yeah.
If she hasn't, I'll make some for her on Friday night because
Okay.
she's got
Oh,
dinner on
okay.
Friday.
Got it. Yeah, we'll be over on Friday night too. Listen, we got
Perfect.
to do another toast. Um, I want to just say that uh, even though we're talking Jewish, we're talking people. We're talking
Right.
how to get along with people, and food is the way to do it. I've always thought that. I
Right.
always thought that the Middle East crisis could be solved if every world leader had to bring a dish that he or she made, and they all ate it. They all tasted it. Not with Secret Service and all this other stuff, but I just think that would work. Maybe I'm naive, just trying to do
You,
it.
you know, it's interesting, and I cannot for the life of me remember. Oh, I do remember the name. There was a movie, a documentary that was made, I guess, about a year and a half ago called Breaking Bread. Not Breaking Bad, Breaking Bread. And there was a food festival in Haifa, in Israel. And Haifa is known for having lots of Israelis, but also lots of Arabs and Palestinians. And so they put together this food festival and they paired an Israeli chef with a Palestinian chef, and they had to create a dish together that was indicative of their restaurants or their cultures
What
or
a
whatever.
great idea.
It's a fantastic. What is she saying? Iran can voice to chat cream of wheat. Oh my gosh. um, it really is. Food is really the great unifier. You can look into things and see where they came from and find out, how we all have them in common. Brisket, for example, was a food that came from Spain, and during the Inquisition, when Jews left,
Right.
they went to places like Cuba. Well, brisket became ropa vieja, which
Ah,
also became brisket tacos. So we all sort of start from the same place, and if we keep that in mind, it's a very different experience. When Shonda and I had our launch event back in December, we did a bunch of different exercises with people, but at the end of the evening, a gentleman who is a son of two Holocaust survivors, and he was born and raised in Israel, stood up at the end of the night and said, what I learned tonight is that when we meet each other, we extend our hand out to shake it, but we have already told ourselves a story about who we're meeting in our heads before we ever extended our hand. So the trick is to say, hey, what's your story? And then extend your hand.
I love it. Uh, with the rise of anti-Semitism, the rise of hatred against Hispanics and Asians and blacks, I don't get it. I never have. People are people, folks,
Yes.
and food may be the way to solve the situation. Judi,
Right.
this has been terrific. There's only one other thing that we have to do.
Try the dish.
Now, is this a fork or a spoon?
Ooh, I think I'd go spoon. I think you'd set your table with a fork, but as long as you're tasting it, go in with a spoon so that you get every bit of flavor on that.
Got it. All right. So we're going to let that cool for just a moment or two. You can see the steam. Yeah, I should
Yes,
maybe turn it off.
that looks good.
And it does. It smells fantastic. And some Italian parsley, as you said, would be nice. Maybe
Yeah,
a
just
little bit.
brighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The green would be really nice too. Um, I was going to say that and I say this almost every time. When we first started the show, I just dig in, and then I have to do the hot mouth dance, um, and I can't dance. So, but I did it. I danced. So we got to let it cool a bit. I'm going to get a little bit of everything here, and let's give it a shot. A little hot still.
Tell us about the smell. How does it smell
Oh,
before you bite?
the
Let's
aroma
get
is
it.
great. The smokiness comes through. I have a sip of wine.
Ah, there
Carol's
you
right.
go. There you go. Cheers.
And this infidel goes really well. Will go very well with this. By the way, the breast, the smoked breast from Wild Fork, is has no nitrates in it. I try not
Perfect.
to eat those, and I try not to eat non-GMO foods as well, as
Exactly.
people watching know. All right, here we go, folks. Oh man, with a salad, it's
Yeah.
perfect, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Use like a pretty tart vinaigrette on your salad because that'll cut some of that duck breast fat. It'll be a really good melding.
What kind of vinaigrette?
I would say do something that's a little more on the tart side than the sweet
Yeah,
side because that'll cut some of that fat.
yeah, we all. Yeah, I agree. I agree. By the way, I appreciate Michelle. Um, Wine first, and she's just like the Galloping Gourmet. You're not that old, Michelle. How would you know that? I don't know Michelle, but yes, Graham Kerr. Um, this has been terrific. I want you to hold on, okay?
Okay.
And two things. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm so glad. Again, if you want some information, I want you to go to the website, and we'll see if we can get that up for you.
Right.
Go to whiskinthesouthern.com. That's whiskinthesouthern, not .com. I can't even read, folks. Don't try this at home. I am a professional. Um, Listen, we appreciate it. And Judi, um, we're going to ask you to hold on for just a moment or two. Oh, you had
One other
one other
quick
thing?
plug if I can. Yeah. So you can for Whisk in the Southern for my stuff, go to whiskinthesouthern.com. If you want to sign up for Hallah and Soul's newsletter or find out opportunities for volunteering, that is Hallah CHALLAH and Soul, all spelled out, .org.
And there's the logo. It's a great logo.
Thank
Um,
you.
Anything we can do for either of you guys, you let us know. I look forward to having lunch with you or dinner in the next few weeks. We live so
Absolutely.
close
Me
together,
too.
it'd be a shame not to. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for watching. Carol, you did a banner job. We recorded next week's show in advance earlier today, so that Carol has been cooking with me and chopping and setting up and cleaning all day long. Thank you, honey. And I thank you for watching. We really appreciate your comments um, regarding the food, regarding me. Should I wear blue? Should I wear pink? Whatever you want to talk about. Do I need a haircut? Maybe. Anyway, next week we're going to have Joe Lane comes back. Joe was on about 8 or 10 months ago, and he made a strawberry omelet. And I said, Joe, a strawberry omelet? He goes, it's delicious. Well, he was right. It was delicious. So next week, he's going to make a burger for the 19th hole because Joe is a golf instructor. He has a whole series of videos on golf, and he's going to talk to us about the 19th hole. Me, I only sit at the 19th hole and maybe drink a little bit. All right, and then in 2 weeks, we're going to have Carolina Schneider will be back, the green dietitian. Lots happening here on Mark Alyn Cooks. All right, we'll see you next time. Happy New Year to those who are celebrating. Lashana Tova, a healthy, happy, sweet New Year. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.